Hey, what is up everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be taking another deep dive into the latest revelations about Dabi's true identity. And this includes the exact moment when the boy we knew as Touya Todoroki died, and the villain we now know as Dabi was born. Some really intense and really emotional reveals were just made, so let's get into it. If you enjoy our Boku no Hero videos and you want to see more, leave a like and comment, it really does help. And if you're new to AnimeUproar, or maybe you watch our videos but you haven't subscribed yet, make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. I often get people telling me that they're surprised that they constantly miss my videos. That's because on YouTube it's no longer enough to just subscribe. You have to subscribe, click the bell, and then select the option that says all. It's annoying, but it's how it works. Finally, this video will contain Boku no Hero manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution, you have been warned. In the latest installment of the Boku no Hero story, we finally see the rest of Dabi's tragic backstory. If you haven't seen my video breaking down the previous chapter and the first half of that backstory, definitely check it out. I will link it in the description and also in the pinned comment. I also want to say that this new chapter did not answer all of our questions. It did answer a lot of questions, but there is still one big mystery about Dabi's life that is yet to be revealed, and I will talk about that later on in the video. So, after that incident in which a jealous and enraged Touya tried to hurt baby Shoto, Endeavor decided to ban Shoto's other siblings, including Touya, from interacting with him. Endeavor was determined to distance both Shoto and himself from Touya, because he didn't want Touya to keep trying to become a hero. Since Endeavor is a full-time pro hero, and since Shoto was being groomed to become a pro hero, Endeavor decided that they must both keep their distance from Touya. This obviously wasn't a great solution since Touya wanted so desperately to be accepted by his father, and this was achieving the exact opposite. In fact, Rei was rightly upset with Endeavor's decision, and she asked him what kind of hero runs away from his own son. But Endeavor was stubborn, and he continued to push Touya away from him. Some 5 years after the baby Shoto incident, when Touya was 13 and Shoto was 5, we see that Endeavor is still continuing with that same approach. Instead of allowing Shoto to play with his siblings, Endeavor is forcing him to focus exclusively on his training. He is effectively banning Shoto from leading a normal life with his siblings, which creates a great distance between the other kids and Shoto. And of course, this only increases Touya's resentment towards his little brother. All Touya ever wanted to do in life was become a hero and achieve his father's dream. And now Shoto is getting all of his dad's attention while Touya only gets ignored and rejected by his own father. Touya's resentment is further showcased when we see him complaining to Natsu about Endeavor's decision to ditch him and prevent him from becoming a hero. Natsu isn't really interested in Touya's complaints, and you can tell that Touya has been doing this a lot, so he tells him to just go complain to Fuyumi instead. This demonstrates that the other two Todoroki siblings didn't care nearly as much about Endeavor's coldness as Touya did. Ironically, before desperately wanting to make his father suffer, Touya desperately wanted to be closer to his father, and he cared about him much more than his other siblings did. Even at this point in his life, 5 years after Endeavor told him to give up on being a hero, Touya is still determined to train and get stronger so that he can surpass All Might. He still wants to be the one to make his father's dream come true, and he continues to sneak out on his own and train up in the mountains. Rei can tell that Touya is obsessed with his father and with gaining his father's approval, and she tries to explain that there are so many other things in life that he could be doing with his time. There is so much more to life than just pleasing Endeavor and becoming a hero, and Touya needs to focus on himself and finding out what he really wants to be and what he really wants to do, independent of Endeavor's desires. But Touya just snaps at his mom, saying that she is also to blame for everything that's been happening because she agreed to a quirk marriage with Endeavor. So, if being strong and becoming a hero isn't a big deal, then why did she decide to marry someone for the sole purpose of creating offspring with strong quirks? At this point, Touya seems to have concluded that mastering his quirk and becoming a hero is his singular purpose in life. And so he continues to train until his flames eventually change from red to blue. During his training, Touya also realizes that the power of his flames is directly connected to his emotions, and that will become important later. After his flames change color, Touya regains his confidence, and he decides to show his new power to his father. He invites Endeavor to come to Shoto Hill during the holiday break because he wants to show his father that his flames are now blue and even more powerful than they were before. But instead of being supportive, Endeavor is outraged when he learns that Touya has been secretly training and that he has burns all over his body. Again, Endeavor is concerned about Touya's safety, and that's why he doesn't want Touya to keep training and hurting himself. So, in his own strange way, Endeavor does care about his son, but he is pretty terrible at showing that he actually cares about him. For his part, Touya is also incredibly stubborn, and he is determined to convince his father to accept him no matter what. Touya is desperate to show his father that he can be the one to surpass All Might and that he wasn't a mistake. Not only is Touya deeply hurt by his father's abandonment and rejection, but he seems to believe that unless he can achieve his father's dream of surpassing All Might, then his entire existence was a mistake. That is such a terrible mindset to have, but I can definitely see where Touya got this idea. If he was only born because of a quirk marriage, and if his father's main goal for having children was so that one of them could one day surpass All Might, then Touya feels that if he can't do it, his life was a mistake. His existence has no purpose. He was nothing but a faulty prototype, and now Shoto will become everything that he could not. This is a pretty dark place for any child to be in that formative age, and I can't help but feel bad for Touya at this point. He would be much better off if he wasn't so stubborn, but he is still just a kid, and with a distant and cold father like Endeavor, we can't really expect Touya to be an exemplar of emotional intelligence. We then see a brief scene in which little Shoto defends his mom from an enraged Endeavor, who screams at Rei for not preventing Touya from training. But Rei simply can't do it on her own. She has 3 other children to take care of, and since Endeavor has pretty much given up on spending any time with Touya, Rei cannot keep watch over him like 24/7. And I mean, Rei is totally right here. Imagine having 4 kids with someone, and he decides to pretty much abandon 3 of them so that he can focus all of his energy on training one of them. That is totally unfair and ridiculous. Endeavor ultimately decides not to go to Shoto Hill at the scheduled time because he doesn't want to encourage Touya to keep doing this. He doesn't want Touya to keep training and hurting his body. He believes that Touya would be much better off if he just gave up on being a hero and moved on with his life. But it's not that easy. Just as Endeavor has been obsessed with surpassing All Might for years, Touya has become obsessed with becoming a hero and achieving his father's dream. Touya couldn't just let go of his dream any more than Endeavor could let go of his own dream of becoming the #1 pro hero. While sitting alone up on Shoto Hill, Touya begins to cry. After being rejected by his father yet again, he becomes intensely emotional, and because his quirk and his flames are directly connected to his emotions, Touya's entire body suddenly bursts into flames. Just as I speculated in my previous videos, in the moment of his alleged death, Touya lost control of his own flames. And that is what led to the big fire. The fire which scorched the entire hill and which was believed to have taken Touya's life. This is the exact moment when Shoto's brother Touya dies, and eventually a new person will be born in his place, a ruthless villain, Dabi. But that is of course a symbolic death, because we know that Touya didn't actually die, even though parts of him were apparently found on the scene, including a fragment of his jawbone. So, what happened to Touya? How did he survive? And what did he do for all of those years between the big fire and his rebirth as the villain Dabi? That is the last piece of the Dabi puzzle, the final mystery, and this chapter does not answer that question. It leaves us guessing as to what happened to Touya after the fire, and I hope that we will learn how exactly he went from being a severely injured 13-year-old kid who was presumed dead to a cruel villain named Dabi who emerges about a decade later. Did someone find Touya, nurse him back to health, and set him down the path of becoming a villain? I really do hope that this final unanswered question will be addressed sometime soon, because I'm very curious to find out what happened to him right after that big fire. Now, after Touya was presumed dead, Endeavor was devastated. He simply didn't know what to do, and since he couldn't face the consequences of his actions, he refused to let himself take a step back. Instead of just giving up on his obsession to surpass All Might, he doubled down on the plan to make Shoto into the ultimate hero, and so his obsession continued. As Ray points out, after Touya's disappearance, Endeavor got even worse, and eventually she began to lose her mental stability as well. I mean, not only did she tragically lose one son, but she was also losing her other son Shoto because of Endeavor's obsession. Back in the hospital room, Fuyumi and Natsu also expressed their regret for not doing more to reach out to Touya before it was too late. Ray says that even though Endeavor's obsession drove this whole thing, in the end, the entire Todoroki family failed Touya, and they must now all get together to bring an end to this nightmare. Ray also says that Shoto is the Todoroki family's true hero. Despite everything that he had been through with both Endeavor and Ray, he has become a great hero, he has evolved as a person, and against all odds, he brought the entire family back together again, well, except for Touya, of course. Shoto then approaches Endeavor and holds out his hand. He says to his father that once he's done crying, he needs to get up and they all must go to stop Touya together. And that is how this intense and emotional chapter ends. Wow, what an emotional roller coaster. Both Endeavor and Shoto have evolved so much as characters since the beginning of this story, and now we are seeing Ray and the other Todoroki siblings evolving as well. That moment with the family finally coming together for a common purpose, with Shoto holding his hand out to a crying Endeavor, absolutely brilliant. And it's so sad to see that after all of this time, Touya is still obsessed with his father. It's just that instead of being obsessed with earning his father's acceptance, he is now obsessed with making his father suffer. Touya, aka Dabi, is the only Todoroki who hasn't evolved at all from an emotional perspective. If anything, he just continues to devolve in the most tragic way possible. So, what happens next? Is there a way to actually get through to Dabi, or is he already beyond saving? If he is beyond saving, is this looming confrontation between Dabi and the Todoroki family going to result in someone's death? Also, what do you guys think actually happened to Touya after the fire? Did someone find him and nurse him back to health? Did that person also send him down on the path to becoming a villain, or was that someone else? Definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and let me know how you liked this chapter. If you enjoyed this video and you want us to keep it going with the Boku no Hero content, please leave that like to let me know. It only takes a second, but it really does help. And if you're new to AnimeUproar, or maybe you haven't subscribed yet, make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. A big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons for making videos like this one possible. Special thank you to Alpha Sigma, disciple of Lord Twigo himself. And I can't forget all of our The One tier patrons, the ones who rise above all other clans, including Ingrata, The World, A Quiet Respect, Pate Heffa, Liam Thompson, Aljatal, Dr. Courtman, Johnny Boy Draws, Emperor Otaku, Spidey Life Tanel, Baked Buddhist, and Tungsten Tarkus. Finally, thank you also to our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, Steelers, Angel Cruz, Anatoly Kazatsky, Joe Stanton, Very Gucci, Jessica Calafond, Rathuin Deora, Alicia Octor, Bonnie Parks, Hinokami and Water, The Red-Haired Raven, Joanne Garcia, Jack Watches Anime, Fatboy Games, Ted No Ted, Deadly Saint, Matthew Cruz, and Anthony Schreiber. If you enjoy our videos and you feel that they provide value for you, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos along with these amazing people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!